The sea is a constant shadow here, a blue bruise against the glass. I live 120 feet above the waves, inside a hollow white tower. It is my world and my cage. I have only ever known this place. The wind screams like a forgotten ghost against the stone. I am the daughter of the keeper. That is my whole story. I walk the circular staircase every day, 174 steps up, 174 down. This ritual is my life. Other people have streets and neighbors, I have only the ocean and the light. We are three things here, the stone, the lens, and me. The light keeps the ships safe. But who keeps the keeper's daughter whole? The mainland is a distant blur. My father says this tower is the safest place on earth, a fortress. But a fortress keeps things in, too. I feel the isolation in my bones, cold as the water below. Ships pass us by, their horns echoing like voices from another life. They never stop. The space between me and them is the real ocean. Every evening, the routine begins. The gears wake up, click, clack, click. The light sweeps the dark, searching for danger or nothing at all. Its perfection hurts, it never changes. I sit downstairs while the beam slices through the windows. Flash. Then darkness again. This rhythm is my solitude. People see the light, not the girls sitting in the shadows. I know every star, every rock, every sound before it comes. The light witnesses the world outside, but not the empty chair where I sit. It says I am here to everyone except me. There was a time when the tower felt warm. Before the silence. My mother was color in this place of stone. She painted shells on the sills and hummed old tunes. Then the storm came. She went out into the wild air she loved. She never returned. The sea took her without a trace. After that, the light turned cold. My father became part of the stone, silent, duty-bound, hollow. He polished the lens until it shone like ice. He kept the logbook perfectly. But he was only half a man. Her name became a forbidden word. Grief settled over us like fog, slow, heavy, choking. Yet the mind keeps small flashes. Once, she climbed the 174 steps with a bucket of paint for a toy she found. Her skirt caught on the railing and she laughed, a loud, bright laugh that filled the tower. She dropped the brush, and it clacked down the stairs. She held her arms out. The tower, for 3 seconds, felt like a home. That laugh is my most precious memory, a tiny pattern interrupt in the silence of my life. My father taught me knots, charts, and duty. He tried to make the lighthouse my shell, my safety. But safety can be a lie. He speaks of her death in flat phrases, the sea's will, an accident. His voice is steady, but his eyes are full of secrets. There is a duplicity in his silence. He hides the truth to protect himself, not just me. He locks the logbook every night. He keeps the supply closet closed. These small habits form a wall. I know his routines better than my own hands, the sound of his keys, the rhythm of his breathing when he pretends to sleep. He is transparent, but his secrets are not. His love is honest, but the story he tells about our life is built on sand. Another layer of stone, sealing us both in. I wonder what he fears I will discover if I begin to look. The fog rolled in thick that afternoon, muffling every sound. My father was sick with a rare fever and needed the spare regulator for the oil lamp from the locked supply closet. He gave me the key. It felt heavy in my hand, a key to his secrets. The air inside tasted of metal and dust. I found the regulator quickly, but in the back, hidden beneath canvas sheets, I noticed a loose floorboard. I had never seen it before. My curiosity ached. I lifted it slowly, the scraping sound loud in the silence. Beneath it lay a leather-bound journal, my mother's handwriting on the first page. Her name, small and defiant. I held the book close, replaced the board, and walked downstairs, carrying the regulator and the weight of the secret. My father did not see the journal, he just nodded, fever-clouded. Upstairs, in the lantern room, I opened it. The handwriting was elegant but frantic, the first entries full of love, love for my father, the ocean. But quickly, her tone changed. She wrote of the stone walls and circular stairs, a constant downward pull. The light was not guidance, it was judgment. She needed color, noise, movement. The light tells me where to stand. But I am not meant to stand still, she wrote. The lighthouse, a cage in beautiful disguise. Sketches in the margins showed the walls closing in. I look at the horizon, and I feel the air leave my lungs. This place is a silence that screams. She did not drown in the water, she drowned in confinement. The journal confirmed what I suspected, my mother was a victim of the shore, not the sea. Then came the entry I could not unread, dated 3 days before the storm. She had arranged passage on a small fishing boat, a bag hidden, a plan to reach the mainland. She was not fleeing us, she was fleeing herself. I must go. The life I need cannot fit here. He will understand later. Or he won't. But I must breathe. The storm was a tragic accident of timing. My father knew. Did he try to stop her? His silence was not grief, it was calculated concealment. The light flashed past my window, flash. Darkness. Absolute darkness. I held the weight of 2 broken people. My mother was a restless, desperate woman who chose flight. My father was a silent jailer, building a fortress of lies. Truth tasted like metal and regret. Who did I mourn, the mother who painted shells or the woman who tried to leave? The father who loved me or the man who hid his knowledge? Understanding their choices widened the wound. I never knew them, only the roles they played. The journal was a map of their failures, the tower, the cold, hard result. The final page held my father's note, a year after she vanished. He knew her spirit was too large for the tower. He saw her fading, her plan to leave. He did not try to stop her. His fear was losing me. I chose the silence to keep one light burning, he wrote. I chose the lie to keep my daughter safe from the wide, cruel world she longed for. His actions were selfish, unforgivable, but born from terrifying, human love. He sacrificed honesty and his own soul to create the illusion of safety. Holding that note, my anger softened into bitter compassion. He was not a monster, just a terrified man who made a terrible choice. Suddenly, the outside world broke through my sorrow. The lighthouse began to shake. A new storm had arrived, louder and more violent than any I had felt before. The wind was no longer a whisper, it was a physical blow, tearing at the stone walls, rattling the glass, slamming against the iron frame. Waves smashed against the base, hurling spray like shards of glass into the gray air. The noise was overwhelming, a pure, raw energy that consumed everything in its path. I sat in the small, warm center of the lantern room. The glass vibrated against my back. The thick lens whirled, scattering the storm's shadows into fractured, impossible patterns. The violence outside was a perfect contrast to the stillness inside my head. All the tension, the guilt, the fear, it had been a quiet, private storm. This was real, physical, magnificent. The rain lashed the glass, the water tried to break in, and for the first time, I allowed the storm to speak what I could not: rage, grief, despair, longing. This was true emotional catharsis. The outside screamed so I did not have to. The wind tore away the polite layers of my father's silence. It shredded the delicate sadness of my mother's art. It left only the raw core of truth, survival. The light kept spinning, its beam defiant and steady, unwavering against chaos. For the first time, I felt the lighthouse's energy. It was not a prison. It was a fortress. And perhaps, so was I. I looked at the lens, enormous and formidable, focusing a small flame into a monumental beam. The lighthouse did not create light, it amplified it, taking an ordinary spark and projecting it into the darkness. This was the visual scaffolding rule in action. My mother's longing, my father's love, my own loneliness, they were all abstractions. The light was concrete. Real. Hope. It told me that no matter how dark the storm, there is a way to focus strength, a way to shine outward. I had lived in the shadows of their stories. Now I could choose my own focus. The tragedy was not the end, it was the foundation. Isolation had given me quiet, fierce strength. Duplicity had taught me to read hidden truths. I would not be defined by stone walls. I would be defined by the light I projected, the tiny, persistent fire that was me. I slowly closed the leather journal. Its pages were heavy with the lives and secrets of my parents. I did not need to keep reading. The words had done their work. They had broken silence, then offered me something new, clarity, understanding, a path forward. I placed the journal back under the loose floorboard but left the closet slightly ajar, a small act of defiance, a crack in the fortress. I walked downstairs. The storm raged, but the house felt different, less tomb, more ship weathering a high sea. In my room, the main beam rotated outside, cutting perfect arcs across walls and floor. Then I noticed a faint line of gold beneath the door, a sliver of light from the kitchen where my father was probably making tea. This small, ordinary light was the true meaning of hope, a persistent promise of warmth, a quiet path forward. Even when everything seems closed off, there is always a way for light to escape. One honest crack is enough to begin. I leaned against the cold wall and watched the storm through the glass. Each gust, each wave, each flashing lightning bolt mirrored the turbulence inside me. I could feel my chest expand with recognition. The storm did not destroy, it revealed. It revealed the strength I had inherited, the resilience hidden beneath years of silence. I realized the lighthouse had been teaching me all along. Its rotation, its focus, its endurance, all of it mirrored what I could become. My mother had sought freedom, my father had sought control, but I could take the lessons from both and forge my own path. I could face the chaos, let it touch me, and still remain upright. The next morning was crystalline. The storm had washed the sky clean. I climbed to the top deck. The air was sharp, cold, and electric. The water was calm, beautiful, and terrifying, just as my mother had described it. The mainland was no longer a distant blur, it was a promise. I understood, finally, that I had inherited the best of both parents, my father's devotion, my mother's restless need for the world. I would not remain trapped by their choices. I would use the light differently, not to shelter, but as a guide. I would face the cruel world my father feared. I would embrace the world my mother longed for. This was my redemption. The lighthouse had finished keeping me, now I carried its strength, its lessons, its energy. I walked down the 174 steps one last time, not counting them. They were stairs now, no ritual, no cage, only movement. My father worked on the machinery below. I did not mention the journal. I did not mention the lies. I gave him a real hug, the first time I hugged the man, not the keeper. He squeezed me tight. I told him I was leaving. He nodded. A keeper sees change before it arrives. He said only one thing, remember the light. And I understood, fully. The light is not about where you stand, it is what you carry inside. To be seen. To shine anyway. The lighthouse had taught me endurance, focus, and resilience. I am the daughter of the lighthouse keeper. My home is the stone. My heart is the sea. And my story is just beginning. The light is not outside the tower, it is the fire within. The greatest light is the one you carry with you, no matter how dark the storm. I lingered on the deck, feeling the cold wind on my face, the salt on my lips. The horizon stretched endlessly, blank and inviting. I could write my own story now, guided by the lessons of storms survived, walls endured, and light projected. The past of my parents was heavy, yes, but it was no longer a shackle. It was the foundation I could build upon. I could leave the tower, yes, but I would carry it in me, the structure, the discipline, the clarity, the strength. My life would be a beam cutting through the darkness, my own choice of focus, my own light amplified. And so, with the first rays of morning, I stepped forward, leaving behind the rhythm of 174 steps, the shadows of the lantern room, the secrets of the floorboard. The wind carried the scent of the sea, and I carried the fire that was mine. I was ready. Ready to navigate the world my mother dreamed of, the one my father feared. I was ready to project my light. My story was beginning. And I would shine, fiercely, persistently, without apology. The greatest light, the only light that matters, was mine.